All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hope everybody's having a fabulous day. And I just hit record, so we're gonna rock this. All right, so I'm Cheyenne Hathaway. It's good to see you all. I'm really excited to speak about this. This is something I'm really passionate about and that I love. So I'm speaking today on growing your network, no excuses. So in order to talk about this topic, I'm going to basically share my doTERRA story. So really my doTERRA business story for the most part. So, and this is for all of you, this is Kaisa. This is my squishy 5-month-old. So she'll be on here with me. My husband's out of town and I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So I started using oils about 10 years ago. I have a pituitary tumor. It's called a prolactinoma. And I'm just gonna, this is gonna be a nutshell, right? This part of it. So I have this pituitary tumor and I started using oils. And my son was really sick at the time. And I started using oils on him. I had no intention of doing this as a business. I just purely needed help with my family. And so we started using the oils and had really amazing benefits come from the oils. And so because I'm the type, I'm like an ex-engineer. I'm not like a salesy person at all, right? Like that's just not me. I've never had any intention to sell anything, never had any intention of starting my own business. I just kind of fell into doTERRA. And so I started just sharing. I'm very passionate about my story and about how the oils have helped me. And so I was sharing my story with people and I had people enroll. So my husband was kind of amazed at this and he's like, why are we getting these random checks from doTERRA? Aren't those just the oils that we use? And I'm like, well, yeah, but you know, your mom wanted some oils. And so I got her some oils and so on and so forth. And so we, when my husband lost his job, we'd been using oils for a couple of years and we were right about Premier. I don't know that we were like purposely hitting Premier. We were just close to that point. And my husband lost his job. He actually got laid off. And so he had a little bit of a severance and he's like, you know what? We've been using these oils for several years. We were purchasing every month because we need them. We need these oils. And he's like, you know what? I think we should just do this as a business. And I was like, okay. And so we hopped in while he had his severance. And our goal was by the time he lost his severance, we wanted to make that money. And so when he lost his job, we were living in Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls is not a big town. It's not a big city, but it's a lot bigger than the one we moved to. We moved to, if you have Google or something on your phone or whatever, I want you to Google. Oh, I can't tell if somebody's talking to me or, anyway. So if you have a phone, Google Burrville, Burrville. This is the town we moved to. It's my hometown, and there's about 30 people in my hometown. So we moved to this town because we didn't have the money for rent. And so my parents had a little cabin that we could move into. So we moved into this little cabin. The big town next to us has about 400 people, and the big city with the Walmart's 30 minutes away, and there's about 10,000 people in that town. And so this is where we lived. This is where we had to go because we just didn't have the money for rent. So we were living there and we did Diamond Club for our first time. We hit Premier so we could do Diamond Club because that's when we could do it. That was the, basically you had to be Premier and a lot of the same things, the same qualifications as we have now, but it was Premier. So we hit Premier, we did Diamond Club, we were traveling a lot, and we were getting on social media, we were talking to a lot of people, we were enrolling as much as we could for where we lived. So it took us about 1.5 years and we hit gold in this tiny town of 30 people. We did it with a lot of traveling, a lot of just giving away samples on social media. I love the idea of doing like sleep studies and that type of thing. It seems like that's kind of a thing that people are doing right now. And I think it's a great way to get out there on social media and to get samples in people's hands. So once we did Diamond Club and we hit gold, we moved. We were able to finally buy a car that would take us across state lines, and we were able to pay for rent. So those were the two things we were looking for, you know, to be able to do. So we did that, blood, sweat, and tears, like just working really hard, enrolling, doing classes, doing online one-on-ones with people, and working with our at the time we had a couple of leaders that we were working pretty hard with. So we moved to Texas, we moved to Austin. And this is where I'm going to talk to you guys about the things that we did in Austin. So we went to Austin, we were what's considered a duct tape gold. We had 2 builders, and then we had one that was not really a builder, but just kind of where we were throwing a lot of enrollments, and it was kind of brutal. Sometimes we were hitting gold, and sometimes we were having to really stretch really hard to hit gold, and it was putting enrollments under that leg. So we moved to Austin, Texas, and we moved to Austin, Texas in October, and we got our first enrollment in Texas in December. Okay, so because we took a couple of months to meet people and network, and I'm going to tell you what I did. And then it took us another 4 months and we hit diamond. So we went from duct tape gold to pretty solid diamond. We have never gone back from diamond since we hit that first time. And we did that in 4 months. And so I'm going to tell you what we did, how we really grew a pipeline quick. And I'm telling you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And then I'm going to tell you more about my current situation and how I'm growing doTERRA right now. So when we got to Austin, Texas, we did not know a single person in Austin, Texas. And at the time, my husband was doing doTERRA as a business with me. And so we're like, okay, we need to meet people as quick as we can, and quality people too, right? Because we need to build fast, because we're duct tape diamond. We now have a car payment, and we now have rent that we're having to pay. And so I decided to hop on meetup.com and start going to meetups. And so if you have never done meetup.com, it's an app on your phone, or you can go to the website. So yeah, are you going to tell them? You're going to tell them what we do? So meetup.com or the Meetup app, you can basically tell Meetup where you're located, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the United States. And then you can tell Meetup what your interests are. And so I don't know if you can tell what mine are. It's kind of hard to see. I love hiking. I love being outside. I love being outdoors. And so I hop on here and I put, I love hiking. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love business stuff. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I love going to kind of little networking meetings. And so at the time, though, in Texas, there's no hiking in Texas. I mean, there is if you're crazy enough to go out in the 1,000-degree weather to do it. But when we were in Texas, I had 2 small kids. I currently have 4. So I had a 18-month-old daughter, and I had a 4-year-old son. So they're preschool ages. So when I got on to Meetup, my interests at that time were like kid groups, like let's meet some kids for my children to play with and to just get to know. So meetup.com was my friend, and I started going to these different meetups with kids, with moms of kids my own age. I would sit there in the sand pit and we would just chat, and they would say, oh, you know, how long have you been here? And I'm like, 2 days. My first meetup group I went to was 2 days. And they're like, oh my goodness, where did you come from? Oh, I came from Utah. Oh, what brought you here? Actually, our business. We're wanting to grow our business, and this seemed like a great place to do it. And so right away, I was able to introduce to people to doTERRA through the business aspect of the oils. And then I'd say, you know what? I actually have classes, free classes for anybody wanting to learn about oils once a week or twice a week, depending on when it was. And I would invite them within about a minute of meeting people. I was inviting them to a class. And so meetup.com is an excellent way, no matter where you are, to meet people. So I highly recommend Meetup. Facebook, you can do the same thing. There's events on Facebook that you can go to. So Meetup and Facebook are great ways to meet people in the different groups. And Facebook, if you go to the events, it shows events close to you. So the other thing we did while we were there is we would go to lots of events. So we lived close to YMCA, and they would have different vendor events and different, you know, play at the park or whatever, bring your kids and do this thing. So we would go where people are. Anywhere that there's people, go and just meet people, become acquainted and become friends with people. When we got there in October, and October through December is a fabulous time for vendor events. So we got there late enough that there wasn't a lot of vendor events that didn't already have either essential oil people, or they were just full. It was just too late to register. And so we would just go to those events. We would go to all these different vendor events, and we would talk to people. So the first person that I enrolled, we met at an event, at a vendor event, and she was a Beachbody coach. I say was because she's now one of my qualifiers. So I went and you know, we didn't have an actual booth at this vendor event, but we were going around talking to people, and I talked to her, and she had a sign up, and I signed up to do to win a month-long boot camp, which exercising is not my thing, you guys, but I'm like, you know what, I'll go for it. But I was able to talk to her at the booth, and we chatted for a while, and she knew that I used essential oils and that I do it as a business. But I was just really concerned about her, and I wanted to get to know her as much as possible. And so something that goes along with this and meeting people is the art of conversation. So I'm going to share with you guys here in a minute a few key points on how to go from meeting somebody to inviting them within about a minute. Oh, here, do you want a toy to play with? Oh, there we go. So, anyway, sorry, now I've lost my train of thoughts. My baby was starting to get mad. So meetup.com, vendor events, or just things where there are people, right? And then, so those are some really great ways to grow your network. And then networking groups. So this is a little bit different than Meetup. You can find Meetup or networking groups on Meetup. You can find them on Facebook. But these are like small groups, usually of entrepreneurial type women, that where you're interested in helping each other grow your business. And so I started going to this, doing these networking groups in Austin. It was after we'd been there we'd already hit Diamond when I started going to these groups. But basically, there's just these networking groups, and I go to one here. In fact, we're now in Boise, Idaho, so we move around. We tend to move around a lot. But these networking groups are really great. You can find them on Meetup. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them just asking around about them. There's BNI groups, which you can go to. And a lot of times people that go to the BNI groups might be part of this, they might have smaller networking groups that they go to. And I prefer the smaller ones, but BNIs are really great. You just have to pay for them, pay for BNI, whereas a lot of the smaller ones you don't have to pay for. And so it's a great place to go where you can basically, explain what you do and who you are, and do one-on-ones with people and get to know their business and how you can help each other grow. So I'm going to talk more on that here in a little bit. So when we were in Austin, we met my first builder in December. We enrolled her in December, and she spent her last $170 to get a home family kit. Sorry, I'm like having a hard time with what I'm trying to talk about. So family physician kit. That gives away my doTERRA age right there. Anyway, so the smallest kit. And she's like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so we helped her go hit silver in basically 4 months. She hit silver in 2 months. And then she actually, like I told you guys, we were a duct tape gold, right? We had the one leg that wasn't really building. And so she basically replaced that leg. And then we had another builder in California that I met online through doing the different, I gave her samples, and she contacted me about 8 months after I sent her samples, and she avoided me for about 6 months. And then she got back to me after 8 months, and she's like, all right, I'm ready to start building. And she hit Premier in 90 days, and she hit, so she actually started building in December as well. And then Kimmy replaced anyway, so we basically built 2 new legs between December and April when we hit Diamond for the first time. So basically, and we help them do the networking and just, meeting people and enrolling them within a week or two. And they've been able to maintain their rank as well. So it's been a huge blessing for us. So fast forward to now. So we hit Diamond 5 years ago. Since then, we've replaced several of our legs, and now I'm finally able to start looking towards Blue. But currently my husband is doing his startup business. So he's doing his own startup, and I have 4 kids. I've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, 3-year-old, and a newborn. Well, she's 5 months, so not technically a newborn. And my husband's doing a startup. So he is gone. He's gone tonight. He'll be gone probably off and on for the next 3 weeks. I'll see him maybe twice in the next 3 weeks. And I am blessed to be able to work 10 to 15 hours a week on my own time. I schedule my own hours. I have somebody come over and help me with my kids a couple of times a week and help me with cleaning. And I have an assistant who works on, a virtual assistant who does a lot of my recognition for me, and she does a lot of my social media type stuff for me. And so I'm really blessed to have a great network that I can lean on right now. And but this is the blessing, you guys, from continually growing, from enrolling constantly, and being able to grow to a great place where you can support your families. And so right now I'm the supporter of my family while my husband goes and does his startup. And I just don't even want to think about where we would be if we didn't have doTERRA, and we were not able to grow our business in the way that we have. And I'm just so grateful that we worked hard and consistently for those several years so that we could grow our network and grow our business to a place where I can choose my hours and I can work 10 to 15 hours and sustain our family on this business and actually grow my business in that amount of time. And so fast forward to now, where I'm at right now. We've been here in Boise since December. I had a baby in May, so I was not doing a whole bunch of, I had a networking group that I went to, and this has been my main source of referrals and people that I've been meeting is through this little networking group. And since December, since we've been here, I've been doing everything that I told you before. I've been doing meetup groups. I've been going to hiking meetup groups, and then I found this group of women here in Nampa, Idaho that I really love and that I've really gotten to know. And 2 of them are builders of mine now. And so it's kind of fun because they do have their own businesses. One of them is a grief counselor, and she wants to basically, utilize her network and help use the oils for grief counseling and help grow a residual business along with her grief counseling business. And so that's been really great. And then another gal has the same issue, the same hormonal issues as me, and she's doing the same thing. She's growing her business alongside her other business. She actually is an accountant. And so these women are women that see the benefit of having residual income, and they want to utilize the oils. And so here in Boise, I have a little bit of a different problem than I had in Idaho. In Idaho, I didn't know, in Texas. In Texas, I didn't know anybody. Not very many people had heard of doTERRA or even essential oils. A lot of them, the people that had heard about essential oils, were mostly Young Living. So here in Boise, I have a different problem. As you know, Idaho and Boise are some of the more, Boise's in Idaho, Idaho and Utah are some of the more doTERRA crowded places in the United States, right? So there's a lot of people here who have heard about doTERRA and who use doTERRA. So my main thing has been niching, finding a good niche for my business. And so I've had lots of people tell me, you know what, in fact, a couple of people that I've met and that I worked with here, they know several doTERRA women here in the Boise area, and they've enrolled with me because of my niche, because I have chosen to work with people with emotional issues and to teach them an emotional technique called the EO technique. And so basically when I introduce myself, I'll pass around an oil. And so this is where the art of conversation comes in, and asking questions. So this works, this type of questioning works, whether you're meeting somebody for the first time, if you're in a networking meeting, whatever it is that you're doing, this is a really great way to get people interested in the oils and in what you're doing. And so for me, my niche is, like I said, I love teaching people the EO technique. And so what I'll do is I'll ask people, I'll say, you know, if I'm in a big group, I have 30 minutes to a minute to introduce myself and to get them their curiosity piqued to the point that they want to learn more about oils, or they want to meet with me one-on-one. This is what I'll say to them. So if you're going to write anything down, this is what I would write down if I were you. So I will say, how many of you are stressed? I'm going to ask you guys, how many of you are stressed? Any of you stressed? Everybody without, and this is so perfect with the new adaptive system, you guys. So anyway, I'll say, are any of you stressed? Everybody raise their, or are you sometimes stressed in your business? Everybody raise their hand. I said, great. How many of you have ever had this stress debilitate you in some way in your business? Because a lot of these people are business owners that are at these networking meetings. And so they're everybody, right? I mean, I know me as a mom and as a business owner, I'm stressed a lot, and it often debilitates me and what it is that I'm trying to do. So those two questions. And then my next question is, what if, no, go back in there. Sorry. My next question is always, what if I could teach you how to get rid of that stress and how to change your entire day in about 30 seconds? Once again, everybody raises their hand. And I say, awesome, I have a technique. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to learn how to do this technique. And it takes 30 minutes or 30 seconds to do it. And it's so easy that my 3-year-old can utilize it at any time. And this is what I specialize in. I specialize in teaching people how to do this technique. How many of you would be interested in meeting with me and learning this technique? And almost everybody will raise their hand. And so I said, great, pass your card to me. I'll text you, I'll email you, and we'll set up a one-on-one. And so that's what I do. And a lot of times I get several one-on-one meetings just by in that 30 seconds to a minute when I'm able to ask people those questions. And you can ask those questions to people on a one-on-one basis. If I'm talking to somebody just one-on-one, I'll ask people, I'm like, are you stressed out, or, in a more casual way, but that's how I do it with networking meetings. And then if you guys are interested in the EO technique, I think that you can probably just Google it. It's a technique. Somebody in my downline came up with, and it's a really powerful emotional technique that anybody can utilize, and anybody can access it, and anybody can teach it. And so I believe it's probably eotechnique.com or something like that. You can learn how to do it yourself. And a lot of people that I met, or a lot of people that I meet, they're very excited about this EO technique and utilizing it themselves, and even having their clients utilize it if they're in some sort of a natural health type of a business, whether it's chiropractic or massage or grief counseling, anything like that. People are very interested in this type of a technique, and it works really well, you guys. I've got a teenager. Let me tell you what, she's very much needs EO technique. What was the last two parts? Are you talking about the last two questions that I asked? Okay, so I'll go over it again. Okay, so the first question I ask is, how many of you get stressed? My second question is, how does this, has this ever affected your business or, your personal life, this stress? And everybody will raise their hand. And then I asked them, I said, if you could learn, in 5 to 10 minutes, how to change your day around in 30 seconds or less, would you be interested in learning how to do this? And people will always raise their hand. And I said, this is what I specialize in. I teach people how to let go of negative stress and negative emotions in 30 seconds or less. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to teach it. And it's called the EO technique. It uses essential oils and a unique technique. And I'm happy to teach this to you. If you're interested in learning, pass me your business card and I will email you or text you and we'll get together and I can teach you this technique. And it's something you can utilize personally. It's something you can utilize in your business. And I'm happy to teach it to you for free. And, a lot of times I'm passing around an oil and telling people, hey, this oil is an oil, I love passing around Balance. I love passing around the citrus oils. And now I love passing around Adaptive 2 and explaining to people this is an oil that you can use to help you gain, I love Balance because it's my confidence oil. So I'll tell people this oil can help you gain confidence. It's a grounding blend and I can help you utilize it to, de-stress your day or pick an oil. I can help you find an oil that can help change your day around as well. So anyway, that's basically what I cover. And so I'm able to meet with a lot of people. My husband has used this same thing in different networking meetings. And even as a guy, he's able to get several appointments and talk to people about this EO technique because it's a really great tool to help get in front of people with. So anyway, so that's basically how what I've been using to grow my network here and in Austin, Texas. And so that's the basics of how I talk to people. And so when I just meet somebody like at a park or at some sort of event, I might go about it a little bit differently, but basically I have figured out a pretty good stream of conversation that I can utilize to help people ask me the right questions so that I kind of have permission to invite them to a class and whatnot. And that usually, I ask them what they do. A lot of times people reciprocate and ask you what you do. And so I'll just say something to the effect of, how long have you been here? Are you originally from here in Boise? And they'll usually say yes or no or whatnot. And they'll be like, well, how about you? Are you local? And I'll be like, no, I just moved here in December. And a lot of times people will say, what brought you here? Oh, well, we've come here to help people grow their business. And we have friends here and we're helping them do that. And they're like, oh, really? What business are you helping them grow? And then I'm able to, tell them what business, able to tell them doTERRA. And then I'll go into, what I'll tell people. I don't tell people I'm doing doTERRA because everybody here knows about 10 people that do doTERRA. And so I tell people, I say, I teach this technique, helps people turn their day around in 30 seconds or less. I say, use it on I have my 3-year-old utilize this technique all the time. It's really simple to learn. And I teach people how to do this technique and how to utilize essential oils to reduce stress and emotional fatigue in their life. And a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, I really would like to learn how to do this technique. And so, and then I'm able to say, well, you know what? I don't have all I need are oils and basically oils to teach this technique, but I have handouts and stuff. And so we're like, you know what? I've got all my handouts at home. When can you meet next week so that I can teach you this technique? And it's been a really, really great tool. So find a good niche and figure out a good line of conversation that can get you from point A to point B and utilize it. So does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, here, we can unmute. Let's see, I'll unmute you. Go ahead, Jessica.
Can you guys hear me? Because I have my earbuds in. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. So are you setting up classes pre-meeting people in general, like how many times a week, and are you focusing around your niche, and then you're just kind of filling them up as you're meeting people, or do you have it like set up? How are you setting up like however many classes you're allowing people or inviting people?
That's a great question. So right now, as I mentioned before, my life is a little bit hectic. My husband is gone a lot of the time. His schedule is very iffy. And so for quite a while, I was scheduling weekly classes, and then I would invite people to the classes. And if they couldn't make it, I'd be like, you know, I'm going to be teaching this technique on Thursday at 7 o'clock at my house. Can you come? And if they said, yeah, then great, I have somebody coming, right? And if they say no, then I said, well, when it works better for you that we can meet up and I can teach you this technique. And so I would do that. I've done several booths on here. I'm going to give you guys an excellent tip for booths. This has been amazing for me. So when I go to booths, I usually have, you know, this basket. I mean, it doesn't usually have oils in it. It does right now because this is the basket that I just put everything in when I'm done with the booth, right? But I have this little basket and people fill out the little forms to win a diffuser. So I'll have a diffuser sing out and I'll say, win this diffuser. And then, you know, basically people will fill out the form and only one person wins the diffuser, but I have this whole basket full of contact information. And I know that people are not likely to come to a class when they don't know me. Like we've met, you know, here and there, we talk for a few minutes at a booth. They're not likely to come. However, I have learned a really cool thing that works really well at booths. And that is I text people and, you know, of course somebody wins a diffuser and they'll be there or they'll meet up with me. They'll either come to the class or they will meet with me no matter what to get their diffuser. So the other thing that I do is I'll tell people, I'll be like, hey, you won a custom blend. And I'm going to give you the option because I have the little sheet, right, that they filled out and it said, what are things that you're interested in learning more about? And so maybe it'll say, I want to learn more about oils in babies, or it'll say, I want to learn more about stress or about immune, you know, boosting immune system. And so I'll give people two choices. I'll say, you've won a custom blend and, you know, I'm really excited. You've won a custom blend and I'm going to give you a choice. You can make one for, you know, my special baby calming blend or my immune boosting blend, or maybe my head tension blend, or, you know, depending on what they wrote down on the paper, I'll give them two options. And I'll say, you know, which one would you prefer? And so, of course, they're like, oh, well, I want the head tension one. I'm like, great, I have a couple of options. I'm having a class on this day and I'm having a class on this day, or we can meet up and I can teach you more about the oils. And honestly, most of the people want to come to a class because maybe they feel more comfortable coming to a class when there will be other people there. And so I've had really great response for people just coming to my classes to pick up their free custom oil that they won from my booth, and everybody wins. Everybody wins a custom blend from me. I don't tell them that. I'm just like, hey, I'm so excited. You won a custom roller blend. And it's from usually just, you know, about 10 to 15 drops of oil and fractionated coconut oil in a 5 milliliter roll on. Let's see. So they're this smaller size as opposed to the 10 millimeter. So you can see the two different. And so it cost me about maybe $1.50 to make this, and I'm getting people in the seats to my classes, or they're doing a one-on-one with me. And that's probably about a 90% getting people to come to a class or one-on-one from that has filled out a form. And the last vendor event that I did, I had 1 enrollment at the actual event, and then I had 5 enrollments afterwards, and then I'm still talking to people that are, you know, still going to meet up with me. So, and one of them is a builder, and 3 of them are on LRP. So, you know, utilizing that kind of a technique is really great too. So right now my husband's schedule is really hectic, and so I've got somebody that's now starting to come and help me, and so I'm going to probably do 2 classes a month just because of where I'm at right now. And I do a lot more one-on-ones, and some of those one-on-ones are on the phone, some are over Zoom, and some of them are face-to-face here in my home office. So I do more one-on-ones than I do classes right now, just because of my schedule, my husband's schedule. So does that answer your question? Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have questions, or what questions do you have for me?
You said that website for the EO Technique is eotechnique.com, and is that going to explain pretty much everything? Does it give you handouts, or is there?
Yeah, there's handouts, and then I'm pretty sure they have some videos on there too on how to do the actual technique. It's super, super simple. I could probably even just tell you how to do it right here, but it's really nice to have the handouts. Right, I'm looking up I'm trying to remember how to spell technique. Oh, let's see, eotechnique.com. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just EO Technique. I'll type it here for you guys all to see. And they also have an Instagram, and they're on Facebook, and I know that they have several videos and live type videos that you can see on their Facebook. But it's the handout might be like $5 or something, but then you can print it off as many times as you want. It might be free. I don't remember. But it's a great learning tool. But basically what you're doing is you put an oil on your acupuncture meridian points on your wrist. You rub it, and then you put both hands up on your forehead. Leslie knows how to do it. She can show us how. And you just breathe in deeply, like 5 to 10 times. And when I have my kids do it, I have my kids basically, they'll be breathing in, and I'll say, breathe in happy, breathe out sad. Like I'm giving them an affirmation to go along with it. And with my 3-year-old, it is amazing. Like you can watch her do it. Oh, Shelly's doing it right now. Like it's really easy to do, and it totally works really well. Like I said, my 3-year-old, it's like flipping a switch for her. We call it her sunshine oil, and she helped me make it, and she puts it on, and she puts it on her wrists. She puts her head down and closes her eyes, and she'll sit there and she'll breathe in, and she'll breathe in happy, and she'll breathe out sad 10 times, and then she's like a new person. It's amazing. So it's a really great way to release negative emotions and stress. And I've had hundreds of people do it right there with me the first time I teach them, and they're like, wow, I can't believe how well that helped. But yeah, these are your tension points, right? I don't know if you've ever had a tension headache and you're like rubbing your forehead because you have a tension headache. It releases tension when you do that. It physically releases stress. So that's why the forehead, and then your acupuncture meridian points on your wrist. And it's actually really useful, even if you say you have a stomach ache and you're like, oh, I need my digestion, and it's really great to habit to get into, to put it right on your wrist and to rub it into your stomach on your wrist, because it's also, you know how many times you get a stomach ache, and it's probably some kind of stress that you're having actually. And so it helps release tension when you utilize it on your wrist, those acupuncture points, and then rub it on your stomach. And, you know, I have little kids, and so how often do I apply an oil to myself or to them? And then I'm running around in a million different directions. And if I have oils on my hands and I touch my baby's hands and she gets it on her, you know, so putting it on your wrist is just good for so many different reasons. So anyway, it's cool. It's a cool technique, and hope that it can benefit you guys in some way. So what other questions do you guys have for me? Anything? All right. Leslie says nothing. All right. Well, thanks you guys for being on, and hopefully this helps. And I just want to tell you guys, work hard, be consistent, don't ever give up, and this will be a huge blessing in your lives. And I know that I don't know where I would be without it. I can't even imagine what my life would be right now without doTERRA, without that residual income. And so I encourage you guys, no excuses, get out there, meet new people, I'm on average a 3 to 7 enrollment a month type of a person, and I'm a very, very consistent and steady diamond. And the diamond, once you're a solid diamond, that is a really great blessing. And so please do it, stick with it, work hard, and you got it. All right, have a good night.